Ladies and gentlemen, Hard Nosed Derby Podcast. Capitol Carnage last night.
Was. Friday night as well.
Yep.
Saturday morning and last night.
And I watched that shit. I finally had enough time to sit down and watch. Now, I missed the morning session yesterday, but got back home from the birthday party, which you know how them 2-year-olds are in their birthday parties. They love that
They're
shit.
partying it up.
We went to the local indoor bounce house thing. They're Tiger Bounce in Columbia.
Oh, yeah.
Which was a good time. About 2 hours is all my kids can handle there. They're wore plumb out.
They sleep good?
Well, there was more. But wait, there's more. We went from there and went over to old Slim Chickens.
Oh, get down on it.
Yeah, got that party pack. Took that shit to Cosmo Park. Did not get robbed.
Oh, sweet.
No needles laying around and whatnot. We played there until about 1:30.
Yeah.
And Morris, my youngest, was over it. Hims was tired.
And knowing his little happy ass, he crashed the entire way home.
Actually, that dude did not go out and was a complete asshole.
I figured he'd crash the whole way home, and then as soon as you got home, then he'd be like a fucking crackhead. He just
No. He went down about 7:30, 8 o'clock last night, and I had people over because we was watching the Derby because my guy that I watched the Derby with was gone. No, not going to get into that.
We were doing that fundraiser shit.
But we put his little ass down in our bedroom, and about 45 minutes later, he was up round 2.
He got his third win.
And I went to bed about 2:30 this morning. So he power napped me. But no, hard hitting action Friday night. Shit was killer. I love the one and dones. I cannot stress that enough.
Yes.
We showed that at our shows. Sam's proved it. The shit's killer. It's making these derbies get over at a reasonable time where you're not in there till 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning unless it's Saturday night in Topeka. They're just, that schedule that they've got out there just does not allow an early finish to a derby.
No. Friday night action, we have talked. They took on the one and dones, no heats, all features. They started Friday night off with the street stock weld class. They ended up having 4 one and dones for those. They did 3 of them on Friday and then 1 on Saturday night. We're going to hit it real quick. Mullet Man himself pulled off feature number 1 in the street stock.
That dude had to be tired. I don't give a shit.
I think he was wore the fuck out.
If he better take Monday off because he's going to need some sleep. I mean, and some of that shit was back to back.
Oh, yeah.
But he wasn't the only one.
No, he wasn't. Caleb Myers pulled out feature 1. I'm going to try not to butcher his name, but Kirk Saki. It's either Saki or Sake, or it came down to them two right at the end, and then Caleb just got the last hit. But when you got a feature with those two guys, Landon Pryor, Jacob Prusman, Prusman's been there, done that, both sides.
I was rooting for Caleb.
Yeah.
Dude,
oh, yeah.
I mean,
any dude that's bringing the Missouri money home, which we always say that, and a stand-up dude. He's come and run some of our stuff before.
He's been here.
And he puts on a hell of a show. My favorite for the night really was Street Stock Weld feature number 2. Chad Markley in a sedan.
Yep.
Chris Johnson.
You knew that was going to be a hard-fought battle.
Oh, yeah, dude. Chad was more slick. You could kind of see that. And kind of shitty circumstances He was kind of asked, something right there at the end of his show, and that just goes to show you what the Hammer and Hoosier meant to everybody.
Oh yeah,
that went out there. But give it up to Mark Lee. He drove the piss out of that thing. The street stock wheel number 3, that kind of had a lot, in my opinion, some bigger names in that third feature. We'd hit off on it before. When you get some Kish boys,
which they were driving,
don't fuck around. But then you throw.
And see, I run with them in the bone stock class back at Blizzard Bash.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of knew what to expect because the people that I had over to the house watching, they'd never heard of them. And I'm like, y'all, I'm telling you.
Pay attention.
Because my 11-year-old was sitting there and he's like, well, what's your top 5? And I damn near nailed it.
Yeah.
I mean,
the third feature, you had Bradley Kish taking the win. Then the, straight up wheel man of James Kitchell wheeled it down to second. And probably 3/4 of that son of a bitch, he had no steering.
Nope.
None, 0, and a left rear wheel. That was
added traction. He was covering more surface area.
He was covering about 1.5 feet extra surface area from left to right. And then
that might have dropped the price on them D50s.
Yeah.
Or them D-holes.
Ryan McCracken. And then Justin Comer and then Jason Ippinson. These dudes were straight up driving. Then the mad dog for that one was Matthew Elliott.
Yeah.
And he was sending that bitch from one end to the other.
It was almost like, I don't know what flipped that switch, but you could see it.
Oh, yes. It was like it was like somebody's listening to like Sound of Music and then it turned it to Five Finger Death Punch.
Yeah.
But 3 really good. They roughly lasted about an hour. Each one of those, that 50 minutes to an hour range, but really good shit. There wasn't really no bagging going on, and that happens when you don't have to run heats. Front wheel drive hobos was the next one. Missouri,
kind of disappointed.
I was.
Guys. I mean, and I don't know that it was necessarily anybody's fault. It just, damn it.
Yeah.
They had the field.
You had Garnett Hill, Brady Smith, Logan Adams, OMM guys,
the Woods boys, Turpin, they were all there.
They had roughly a dozen cars, and Logan Anderson pulled it out. Dakota Foster second. Shelby Rockhold was third. Alex Maxwell, he was in a station wagon. He got the Mad Dog, and he was putting that little wagon to work.
Oh, yeah.
The, Joshua and Jacob, and, they finished in the top 10. Kurt Turpin, I think, was right there, too.
He looked like he was having issues most of the Derby.
Yes. Kurt, I kept seeing him looking down, and I don't know if he was
in the floorboard of that car a lot.
Kurt's pretty close to that floorboard anyways.
True that.
But I think John Aller, he wheeled it down in that top 10 too without he had some pigeon-toed front wheels going on.
And the motor was completely loose in that car.
Yeah. Who was it that was talking about motor mounts in those things? They just don't like to hang around when you're really starting to load them with the front end. Saturday morning was Two-Man Extreme.
That's the only thing that I watched from Saturday morning.
That was a good show.
Yeah, I'm just not sold on that class.
It's cool to watch. So the Two-Man Extreme was Saturday morning. The front wheel drive youth was Saturday morning as well. That is the first time I ever saw a Beetle.
I heard about it, haven't seen it yet. I might go back and watch it. Man.
Held up really good, actually. And I know Steve Bucknam, he's run a lot of those little compact things out to the Northeast, and he said he has seen them before, and he said, I'm telling you, they're not no joke. They're for real. You just don't see them very often. We'll hit the World Compacts. Minnesota Badness, they won Blizzard Bash, all stout. Camaros, 5-speed shuffles, no fuck around at all. And there was a molder in one of those to make it the fourth, and they were wrecking shit.
See, I like seeing those rear-wheel drives in the compact, just because they're such an abomination anymore.
Yeah,
with everybody building these Luminas and shit like that. So it's kind of cool to see that shit go out there and do what it does.
Yeah.
You want to pump the brakes on this, and we'll get our phone guest on, and then we'll finish off with Saturday night.
Yep. I've actually gotten some messages wanting this guy on. So
yeah. It was in the works, man. Schedules are tough.
Yes. Yep. So we'll be back with you in just a second. Well, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, we have gotten messages wanting this guy on. So we finally got some scheduling out of the way.
People don't realize what goes into that. I mean, people are busy. They are, and especially this guy.
Yeah. ME 527 announcing.
Unified Points.
Mr. Mark Elliot himself is over the phone with us. Mark, how are you doing this afternoon, young man?
I'm blessed. Thanks, Derek. Thanks, Steve. I appreciate you guys reaching out, and I know that we've kind of been playing phone tag. So what I appreciate most is that you didn't give up on me, because not only am I hard to get a hold of, but I'm not the greatest at getting back with people, or just forgetting, or just not making time. So that's definitely something I'm working on. So whenever I cross paths with people like you guys that don't give up, that's probably the kind of people that I need to cross paths with.
We're persistent. We'll get it.
Well, Mark, you, sir, I'm going to say, I think you are the most passionate and patriotic person I've ever seen in the sport of Demolition Derby. You give and give and give. Right now, you are actually in the middle of a raffle car. That's kind of one reason why I kind of tried to back off a couple weeks ago, because I knew you were spending 5 days or a week in Mark Klein's shop trying to get that thing finished up. How did your 527 announcing stuff come about?
Number one, I appreciate the kind words. Just sincerely, I appreciate that. It's not a title that I would ever claim, but just to hear that that's how you feel, that really means a lot. I think a lot of us share the same story, that at some point in our life somebody took us to a derby, and for me it was my mom, and it was the local fair, and it was, I believe, when I was 2 years old, and that's what I did every year. That's what I looked forward to. I laid in the grass and looked under the tarp that they had hung up on the fence, so I could see the first car that showed up at the pits, and that's what I did all day long. And I played the Demolition Derby game in the arcade. Never ever dreamed or had anticipation of actually doing it. Not that I ever thought I couldn't. I just was not exposed to it on that level. I had an uncle, my Uncle Kenny, who did it a few times. That meant the world to me. He may have ran once a year, if that, but to me that was everything. And even to just get to help him, even though I probably wasn't much help, I was more worried about making sure somebody knew that I was actually there helping him, holding a screwdriver, rather than what I was actually doing with the screwdriver. But So like that's why I always tell my friends that actually grow up in it with their parents, like, just don't forget how blessed you are, because like from a child that did not grow up like that, like I can't imagine growing up like that. And then I don't want to get too far off track, but then I look at the Powerwheel kids, and the reason that means so much to me is because we had big wheels, and we derbied our neighbors or whatever, whatever. If you could crash it together, we did it. But to think that these kids have a platform to actually go out there and on some levels compete where they give out trophies is awesome. So growing up in it, I just crossed paths with the right people, and got the opportunity to actually drive. And that is one of the first things that I ever came to in my life where I didn't feel like I had to be accepted. It just felt like it clicked. Didn't feel like I had to be taught how to do it, or like I wasn't good enough, or like I had to be picked. It just felt like this is my place. And after driving for a lot of years, and having some of the best times, if not the best times in my life, time goes by in my head and I forget more than I remember. So I'm not going to go into great detail as to why that I sold my stuff, but what I can say is when my wife tried to talk me into keeping my stuff and just taking the break that I felt like I needed at the time, I knew that there was no way that I could do that because, for lack of a better way to put it, I just feel like a derby crackhead. Like if I've got that stuff, I'm going to derby. There's no way around it. And it's not just build a car and derby once a year, which is what she kind of probably had in mind. I just can't. That's all I think about. And if I had the stuff, I knew that I knew I could not be responsible enough not to derby at the time. That whatever I had going on, that's kind of what I wanted to do. And fast forward, a friend of mine, Todd Hollinger, he never really got into promoting deep, but he had a few shows. And he reached out to me one day and said, "Hey, I heard that you did some public speaking at work or something," or he'd seen something on Facebook. And he asked me if I would announce for him. And, man, I wanted to say no. I had no desire to do that. But I took this program somewhere along like that path. In the program, the Dale Carnegie program, it taught me how many things opportunities that I'd probably passed up in my life because of like thinking of that negative what if instead of the positive what if. Mm-hmm. So I just said, if for no other reason, I said yes because I knew that graduating that program, I committed to grow in a pair when it comes to situations like that where, maybe there was something good that could come out of it. And if for no other reason, just helping Todd out because he always helped me out in derbying, and, he makes those famous contoured rollover bars. It's the first person I ever seen make one, and now they're all across the United States. I'm sure other people make them, but I feel like that's one thing that he can claim. So I did that, and I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't really look too far into it, but somebody else called, and somebody else called, and everybody knows, like in business, sometimes that word of mouth travels, and things happen, and the next thing you know, you blink your eyes, and then here I am today. I don't feel like I know much more about it than I did then. I don't feel much more qualified than I did on that day, and I damn sure am not any more comfortable doing it today than I was that day. Every show that I show up to, I'm usually sitting in my truck asking myself what the heck I even do this for. But when you talk about kind of seeing yourself through those challenges or through the difficult times or through the pain, there's usually a brighter side on the other side of that challenge. And there's not a show that I leave that I'm not on cloud nine because of getting to watch the drivers in the Derby front row and the interactions with the people that I work with and the fans and the old friends that you cross paths with and the drivers. So that's kind of how I landed where I'm at today, in a hopefully not too long of a side of that story.
Well, Mark, you have done something which Stephen and we have talked about this several times. In the state of Missouri, we kind of have a pissing contest between promoters. Somebody's always they won't run the same rules, even within just an hour drive of each other. You came up with a unified point series, and it's not just in your area. How were you able to get all these different promoters and people on board with something that you were wanting to do that evidently has completely worked 100%? What did it take from you and all the people and all the moving parts that you have going on to make this thing work?
Well, I don't want to sugarcoat it, and I don't want to paint a picture of some false reality. Because I have spent so much time in the sport, and because I've made so many great connections with so many great people, and because all of those promoters that you talk about, the 16 to 17 promoters when it was started, because I wouldn't work with somebody if I did not have a great relationship with them, and some of them I used to derby with, so that's a bond that you share for life, sharing that experience on the track together. So I always just tell it like it is. It's not like I went out and found 16 people that want to kill each other and I talked them into all singing Kumbaya. That is the furthest thing. That's the furthest thing from what it is. But because I already had those shows and those relationships with those promoters, the question was, hey, will you guys all agree to all work with each other and love each other? The question was, will you support me in doing this thing I want to try to do? And that relationship or the street credit or both put together, I think made them all say yes. And, back to that fear of the unknown or that negative what if, you couldn't have convinced me that they were all going to say yes. I kind of had it in my mind like, man, I told my wife, man, if I could just get a few of them, maybe three or four, and maybe they could give, maybe we could come up with like $1,000 and, I'll do a live video and give it away at the end of the year, and it'll just make it that much funner. It'll be something fun to talk about. And there was no huge vision or it was just an idea. And when they all, within that 24 hours, when they all said yes, and then one of them, Chris Coates, who's actually a Fair Board member, but he's in charge of the Salina, Ohio Derby, where Ziz and Hiley's and Bronze and all those guys are from. He actually stepped up and said, Mark, like $100, are you serious? Like, we're going to get so much advertising for this. You're giving this to us. Like, so that's how it came up with, at that time, $250 per show. And at that time, I had over 20 shows. So when they all said yes, the next thing you know, within 24 hours, there's close to $7,000. And here I was talking about $1,000. And then it's like, okay, well, after derbying for so many years, I've got a lot of great relationships with vendors too. So, one thing that I hate to do the most is ask somebody for something, because I like working for everything that I get. Or if you're going to give me something, I like to be able to give you something in return. So I was not comfortable, but I thought there's promoters and there's vendors. So I basically sent out a group text to those vendors and said, hey, here's this opportunity. If you guys want involved, this is how you get involved. And I mean, within that first few days, I've been spinning ever since. I don't know other way to put it.
Well,
it's never slowed down. The first year, I think those guys put together like 27 and almost $28,000, and that was the year of COVID. I was going to shut it down that year, and a lot of people told me to, but it's like, what if it works? And it did, and we got through it, and we had over 20 shows. And I believe if I would have shut it down that year, I don't know that it would have recovered. So the fact that we made it through that huge hump of COVID, the next year I think we had like 38,000, and then this past year we had like 42,000, and this year we're already past that. And with this raffle car, we're on track to probably breach into the 50,000 conversation, and it makes my job fun, and other people enjoy it too. So that's what I get out of it, and those drivers bust their tails to get those cars done and to travel around like they do, because it's in multiple states. So to be able to take every dollar of that sponsored money and put it in their pockets for their efforts, it hasn't got old yet. Let's just put it that way.
Well, one thing with that, and I know you started that off with, you didn't have any idea how big that was going to get. All that stuff has to start somewhere. We learned that the hard way whenever we started promoting. You know, we were doing 2 shows a year, and they were okay, is what I'm going to put it that. I mean, you know, there were the 50-car derbies. We didn't really know what we were doing. Well, then the next year, it just unleashed. I mean, it was insane. We had nothing under 80 cars and had 4 shows. And then it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's crazy how that stuff takes off with such a small idea, because honestly, the stories are, mine was a little bit more petty, I guess, because the only reason we started promoting was because somebody said we couldn't.
Yeah.
But that stuff just takes off. I mean, if you never know how good your idea is until you actually put it into play. And that seems like what you did there, and it worked. I mean,
wow.
The amount of support is just insane. If you're in the Derby world and you haven't heard of the Unified Points Series, then you're living under a rock.
Yeah, or in Russia.
Yeah.
Something like that. Mark, you have been in this game for so long. You have a raffle car going on, which is nasty.
I'm actually looking at it right now.
I know you personally gave me some props of who helped you out on this thing. The world of Facebook knows it too. What drove you? Was it that point where, I know how to build a car, I've got people helping me to do this? Is this something that kind of gives where you can still use that build mentality, but not gonna get to drive it? So a lot of these guys, when they do a raffle car, they build it to the best of their ability, or all the people that are around you doing this as well. So you're going to sit here and, other than mechanical failure, we know that happens. But I just want the world to know that if you get on Mark's page, the Unified Point Series page, or if you're a personal friend of him, you can see this saying, and I'm telling you, boys, it's nasty. It's the real deal.
$100 bill will get you into running for something you've never drove before.
And you get to take this home. Is that correct, Mark? Whoever wins it?
That's what I wrote down. There was no plan. It was, timing is everything sometimes, and I had just turned down a pretty awesome opportunity that would have been a lot of funds for the point series. It just was not aligned to. It did not serve me well, or I didn't feel like it served the series well, and it was a really difficult decision. One, the money looked really great, but it was also people that I enjoy working with. So I don't want to get too far into that, but it was at that time I had to make a tough decision, and I did, and and I felt like, and I still feel like I did make the right decision to serve me in the point series and the drivers well. But it still, you still have some self-doubt hanging out in there. And so, like, it wasn't I don't know if it was 3 days later, Mark Klein reached out and said, hey, I got this idea. Well, Mark Klein, love him or hate him, is one of the most successful people in the sport because he's done something that not many people have done, and he's broke through that 20-year ceiling.
Yes.
If you look at business statistics, a lot of people don't make it past 5. 10's a big deal. But a lot of promoters, I personally know a lot of people that kind of hit 10 years and then that's when they sold it or did whatever, or moved on to something different. But the fact that he's not only still doing what he started doing 20 years ago, but he's still adding to that, and he started that Derby builds, which I didn't know a lot about. But when he asked me if I wanted to be a part of that, it was almost like that announcing thing. It was like, well, I really don't have time, and I don't like cameras, and I don't do that well with people. So my instinct, my instant reaction mentally was like, hell no. But then I started thinking about, like, how could this serve the point series? And he's a businessman. In his mind, I could do it and raise a lot of money for the drivers. And so that's really what got my interest. I was not supposed to be involved. My involvement was supposed to be, I think, just getting rid of the car. Because he has Luke Schaffner, a full-time builder, for the Derby build stuff. They would have got all the parts. They would have built the car. Like, all I really would have had to do was just promote it and raffle the car. But, like, if you get to know me, you just know that, like, once that switch flips, like, I said it earlier, it's like something I can't even explain or control. But the next thing I know, I'm rounding parts up. The next thing I know, my trailer's full of parts at Sturgis, and I'm having a blast. It's not like I'm doing this stuff and just beating myself to death. And, like, to be talking to vendors again and buying parts and reading rules and doing those things, it was like you dropped me off in the bad part of town, and I was having a good time. And then to actually, well, then it's like, well, I want my hands on it because my name's going to be on it. I want my hands on it. And then, you just fast forward through that. Sounds like you guys seen some of that. I was in Henry, Illinois for, I think, 6 or 7 days, working on the car 16 hours a day for 6 days straight. I had Luke there, every day from 9 to 5, and his help and knowledge was priceless. In that time that he wasn't there was key too, because one, it gave us space, because if you spend that much time in one shop with a person that you have barely met, like, that's a lot of time to spend with somebody. So
yes,
those times before he would get there and after he would get there, I think were key for both of us too. And it also gave me time to, like, just keep my thoughts centered, because most of the time I build by myself. So I had a blast doing that. I would have ran the car that night, but I've worked on it another who knows how many hours, because it's always my theory that a car's never done. You just kind of got to run it at some time. And so I just keep working on it, trying to make it the best car I can. And the reason I said what I said in response to what you said about, well, that's what I wrote down, because there hasn't been one time that I really have not talked about it like it's actually my car. And I know it's not. I know I'm going to give it away, like, I get that, but, like, there's not an inch of this car that there's anything that it's not exactly the way that I want it for when I pull it on the track. And, like, I don't know what that means about me or what that makes me, but I know it's real. I did not plan to feel like that. I did not plan to be thinking, like, if somebody so much as leans on the car, like, I'm kind of looking at them like, if you dent it, like that's going to be an issue.
Yeah, what the hell are you doing?
Because I really do build a relationship with these cars, building them from start to finish. And so to think about, like, kind of even, it about chokes me up to even say it out loud, but to think about actually giving the car to somebody else, like, it's going to mean a lot to me, and I just hope that they love it like I do.
Yes. As long as you've been doing what you were doing, you have been at, you do all the announcing at Spring X. You do pretty much everything in the Ohio region, Virginia, you do your thing. We have been hitting off a lot of Sam Williams coming back into the promoting side of the business. With his show last year in Peoria, with the one and dones all being features. Did you get to watch Capitol Carnage at all this weekend, Mark? And to see, them changing that way, all going to the one and done features?
Because I love the platform change. I do. I don't know. It seems like everybody likes something new, but I think this is going to be the wave for a little bit.
Yeah, I did. Well, we had it playing in the barn last night. I worked until like 2 in the morning on the car, and it was playing. And yeah, I try not to get in this knockdown, drag out debate about should it be heats or should it not. I think there's room in the sport for both, and the trophies that I've got that I had to run a heat and maybe even a consolation and a feature, I'm proud of them. And the trophies that I got that I went and ran a one and done, I'm proud of them too. That's why I always say I don't care if it's 3 cars or 300 out there, somebody's going to be the one. And it could just as easily not be you. So, like, I don't care what as a driver, you like. See, I could always argue both ways, because as a driver, you like not having to work on your car, but I like working on the car. I like knowing that there ain't a mother effer out there that's going to work on that thing harder, getting ready for that feature than me. I like knowing that, and I might not be right about that, but that's what I believe in my mind. People used to say derbies are won in the pits. If you give me 8 hours, I'm taking 8 hours. If you give me 10, I'm taking 10. Like, that car will be the best that car possibly could be with my brain and my 2 hands, and you usually got some good friends around you. So, like, I really don't argue one way or the other what's better. Like, I really just love it all, honestly.
It's like
well, and that really shows in what you've done. I mean, that's why whenever you say stuff like that, you can really see the passion for the sport just by the way you're talking about it, because you've got a different take than most people we talk to. They're hurry up, get the car done. That way it's sitting there, and you're the type that, like you said, the car's never done. It's just time to run it. Yeah. I hope I answered your question good enough on that, because I do see the value for promoters, and I think it's situational. I personally think that some of those indoor facilities, it makes much more sense, to do the one and done. So I just think it's really what fits where you're at the best, and then I don't think it's a bad thing to change things up every once in a while, because you guys probably have already learned, or you continue to learn, that if you just do the same thing over and over and over, my rule of thumb is keep it simple, and don't change things you don't have to. Don't change things because other people think you should change things. Like, nobody knows your gift. Nobody knows your gift better than you do. And you got to trust in that sometimes, and it's easy to get off that trust when you got people beating you up. But they don't. A driver on the track knows much better what's happening out there than the officials or the fans, and I've always said that. So when people are standing on the sidelines saying you should be doing this or you should do that, they're not
they're not making the sacrifice that you're making, and they're not taking the hard knocks that you're making. And so that's why I try to keep it simple, because that's the less things that can go wrong, and fill the gaps. Every show, every year that we have this points, every year there's a gap. There's like, okay, this could have went a little better. That's really all that I try to focus on. And if everything just went great, and okay, it's probably never going to happen. And if it is, you're probably in denial, and you probably got your eyes closed, because there's always room to improve and grow. But I just encourage, especially you guys, it sounds like as you're leaning into the promoting, don't lose sight of what your truth is, because you guys know your truth. All the people around you, they're going to make up whatever truth they want about you. And I see a lot of promoters chasing that, trying to make everybody happy, and they drive themselves crazy. And those are usually the people that don't make it through those 5-10 year sailings.
So what you're never compliant. You're always looking for the betterment out of yourself and out of your production, and not being compliant to it. That's why, kind of where I was saying, the passion of the sport, I still say it, you are like no other when it comes to that.
Well, and a lot of what he just said holds true. Like us taking this year off, to kind of get back to where we want to be at is a big deal, in focusing on, because I think there toward the end we were kind of losing sight of where we started from.
Yeah.
So I agree with everything he said on that deal.
Mark, I know you were going to be you were already at Redneck Rumble. I believe you're going to Wicked Team Show for Brandon. And then you hit Spring X next month as well.
Which we should be there.
Yes, we will be there. We'll actually be there I'll be there on a Friday morning. So we are definitely going to catch up and hee-haw around and shoot the bull a little bit with you before it gets really hectic. Is there something that you're really, really looking forward to for the rest of your summer, Mark?
If I don't take it one step at a time, then that gets me in trouble. So I kind of just look out at what's ahead. On a personal level, we're going to our daughter's going to get married this year, so my schedule is planned around that in May. I don't have any shows in May right now, and that's really important to me and my family. And on the Derby, on the business side of things, the Smith Metalworks Expo is something that Casey Smith out of Jackson Center, Pennsylvania, started, I think 3 years ago, and invited me out to, kind of to be as a facilitator, announcer, whatever you want to call it, just to kind of run through the schedule throughout the day. But I've went out there for the last few years, and we outgrew that space. And so, not to get into great detail, but we actually moved it to my hometown this year. So pretty bold on his part, but super excited to have those guys coming to Eaton, Ohio on April 1st. So that's less than a month away. That's where we're actually going to give the raffle car away at. And also on board now with helping Casey actually co-host the event. Myself, Casey is the owner of SMW, and Frankie Guy, probably his best friend, a promoter out of Pennsylvania for Hardcore Promotions, and then Jeff Schumann, Jeffy's Fab Farm. He touches everything from here to Canada, a parts vendor. Casey, I think, just like over those few years, those people kind of showed up for him and helped him with this and that. And I think he got to a place where it was too much for him. So it was either fold or do something different. And what he did different was, one, he had to move it because he just couldn't have it at his business. And then two, he brought us on to help take some of the responsibilities. So, I mean, there's so much going on at I personally invite you guys, any promoter or any vendor that listen and or hear this. I don't know that you'll have this up by April 1st, but it's for everybody. You can get a booth space and just meet people. That's what I say. You sell apparel, you can sell parts, you can do whatever you want, but really making the connections with new people from different states, even if it's just a lifelong friendship, or it could be somebody you end up doing business with in the future. But we're going to have a couple exhibition heats, a youth division, and then like a promoter versus vendor, like fiasco in some minivans or something. But it's going to be a lot of fun. So that's Wicked Team Show, Expo, Spring Explosion, No Mercy out there with Dead Man in PA. Really just definitely going to be a good year. It's already been a good year, and it's only going to get better.
Well, I know we've got some unreal shows that we're actually going to be going to and covering for the hard nose stuff.
Hell, that April 1st thing sounds like it might be something fun for us to go do just as the podcast.
Correct. Because Casey
sure.
Smith is a stand-up dude.
I'll send you the information.
Okay, sweet. Well, Mark, this thing will actually launch this coming Thursday at 5 in the morning. It'll definitely be out in time, for anybody who listens that is whether they're in that area or in ours. That I don't think that is that far of a drive, probably 7 or 8 hours if I'm going to guess.
And Derek will be wanting to fly out there.
Yeah. Well, that's the reason that I said it was bold on his part, because he got a lot of people from New York, New Hampshire, like he got a lot of East Coast people. It being my hometown was not the strategic move. The strategic move was to start headed west, to be more centrally located. And so in doing that, he's got some people from Illinois coming this year, some vendors, promoters, and maybe when we outgrow this place, we even head west a little bit further. So it is more centrally located it is really it's a great time. I mean, there's just, if it has to do with Demolition Derby, whether it's RC cars, model cars, old iron drivers, it'll probably be there. It is definitely a good day that we're not all clocked in. I guess is probably what I'll be clocked in. We'll clock out.
Mark, one thing I've noticed about you, brother, you're always clocked in.
And you said that was Eaton, correct?
Yes, Eaton, Ohio.
I think it's only about 6.5 hours from us.
That's not bad then.
Yeah, because I used to drive like 4.5 or 5 to go to it before, so now those guys are going to have to drive to come to me. So there's a lot of people that's actually following them. So we're going to get some East Coast people, some up north, some Michigan coming, some people from the South are getting some interest. So like it really is, and just come and find out, I guess, is the best advice I give you. I'll send you guys the information.
Well, I'm pretty sure, I'm looking right now, I think if we just get on 70, that'll take us all the way to Eaton.
I'll roll it on, okay?
Yep. Yes, sir.
I think we might have to dive off a little south.
Well, I was getting ready to tell you that we're just going to see you at Spring X, so hell, we might
see you before then.
Yeah, we might just see you right before then. So.
Yeah, that's exciting. Yeah, for sure.
Mark, I appreciate you getting on here with us, talking about the Unified, talking about your announcing stuff. I know the sky is pretty much the limit of what you've got going on right now. So we will catch up with you. Maybe it'll be at the Smith Metal Works Expo.
Yeah.
Or Spring X, whichever one we can figure out.
Again, we appreciate your time, man. Have a good day.
I appreciate that, guys. I appreciate you, again, reaching out, and I really do sincerely appreciate the nice things that you guys keep saying. So thank you, and I look forward to putting faces with the names and the voices, and sounds like it'll be sooner than later. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate you, bud.
All right, bye.
That was Mr. Mark Elliot, boys. I'm not. I don't want you. We've got fanboys.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to be fanboy at all, but I'm serious. Anybody who's been around Mark Elliot sees and hears his passion.
Oh yeah.
For this sport. Well,
his description on. Well, I guess not his description. His point of view is unlike anybody else's.
Correct.
That's what I was joking about. We might have to edit some of that out because people are going to realize that they may not be as crazy over this sport as what they think they are.
Yeah.
Because that right there is a true derby. He's a fan of not only the driving, the building, but also making this better for drivers.
Yeah. 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 And if anybody has seen this car, this raffle car, dudes, it's fucking stupid.
It is.
It will be built to the rules.
Anything that dude gets back, he deserves if he lives by what he what he talks about. Because that right there is leaps and bounds for this sport that most people aren't looking forward to. We talk about all the bullshit around here of the different promoters, the cutthroat bullshit, all that. If everybody had that mentality that Mark does right there, you wouldn't have that shit.
We keep saying it. That would be like NFL-esque. You know what I'm saying? Or NBA. It would be as big as you want to make it. But everybody's
got to have the biggest dick.
Oh, yeah. It's a pissing match. And
it's people like that make that whole what you've done for the sport or what you're trying to do for the sport worth it.
Yeah.
Because at least somebody out there realizes the direction that most people, and I'm using most loosely, are trying to do.
Yes. He just figured out a way to do it.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of hands that go into this thing.
Maybe he might be better at words than we are. Because I didn't hear fuck or shit come out of his mouth a lot.
No, he didn't. Man, yeah, like I said, we've had people reach out to us wanting him on.
Yep. And we were trying. I mean, like I said, and he knew it. Hell, there was 2 times that he was ready and we weren't.
Yeah. And then one time we was messaging. He was like, "Well, I'm on my way to Henry, Illinois, and I'm going to be in there from like 8 to 8. Can you do it on the truck ride?" And I was like, we might lose signal or something like that. And that's a pain in the ass.
Well, and there's no sense in binding somebody down,
Nope.
Like he said, he's busy, hell, there at the end of it, hey, what else do you all have for me as far as, because I got to get, to bust an ass on this raffle car. And the dude's he's busy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I would say there's not a time of day that his phone isn't going off. I bet he is definitely a person that keeps it on vibrate.
That's when he does all his social media stuff, is like after a show. As he's driving, he'll put his phone up on the dash and just do his live MB527 stuff.
But that is by a trained professional on a closed course, correct?
I think he just hits the go button and it's on the dash and he's driving. Yeah. That's his relaxed time. That's when he's informing you about a show or a business move or something in there, and that's when it happens. That's just how busy the man is. So, all
right. Well, we'll put the done stamp on Mark.
Yep. We'll catch up with him.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I would say that's probably not the last time we'll talk to him on air.
No.
Because I'd like to get to know the guy a little bit. We'll dig at him in person, and then I'll have a few more questions for him. Because he's got it going on. He knew what he wanted to get out there whenever we got him on air. He said, "You guide me in the direction of what you're wanting to know, and I'll fill in the blanks."
Yep.
So it's cool to get that perspective on somebody that's doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and put the done stamp on that for today. And let's jump back into this Carnage deal.
Finish up with a little bit of Carnage action. I think we were talking about Minnesota Madness guys in the World Compacts.
Yeah.
They did have some Camaros, but then they had some front-wheel drive stuff too.
Right.
Mr. Jake Brunson got in one of them front-wheel drives and pulled off the win there. Andy Oska was second, and then Jared Fisher was third. Jared was the one who wheeled it down for him in Blizzard Bash. Front-wheel drive youth results. Brogan Watkins, Lucas Earl, and Jarrett Still. That was the top three in there. Drove the piss out of them little things. Still ran into some of that issues with the bumper, with the bumper stuff. But the red flags were kind of still in abundance, but they were just one hand grabbing,
What's shitty about that is everybody's like, fuck, another red flag. Well, calm down.
Yeah.
It happens. The shit happens.
Yep. Because it gets back to if you add something, if you let them do something,
you're getting away from
correct
where the class is supposed to be.
Yeah.
Now, I do, in the 3 years of doing this shit and having that gut and go class, I never did figure out how to get them to strip their fucking cars. It's supposed to be gut and go. It's supposed to be, it says right in the first fucking 3 lines of the page, or of the rules. Remove all the bullshit. I don't know if that needs to be in bolder letters.
I'm thinking bold print.
Well, I know how you could stop it, but you might lose half your fucking field.
Yeah.
If they show up and they're not stripped.
Don't even come through check yet.
Nope. But then
they'll
again,
strip that shit and then come back and see me.
Then you're picking the shit up out of your
parking lot.
Yep.
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry, that was my rant. I lost track of what I was doing for a second.
2-man extreme was Saturday morning as well. That class has grown on me a little bit.
And you keep saying that. I don't mind watching it. It just because the cars are hard. They're driving the wheels off of them. It is a great sideshow. And I might catch some shit over that, but I don't see any professional 2-man guys out there that's all they're looking for.
You see some guys who run some single stuff,
Right.
Tyler Reed,
yes.
Hell, he was there at Blizzard Bash. Derek Rank ran Saturday morning.
Which I'm not taking anything away from the class. It just I would have. God damn it! This is gonna sound terrible. I would have rather it not been there, and they would have finished this derby an hour earlier.
Correct. Yeah, where they could have took it something to Saturday morning and ran it in its place to be done at midnight on Saturday night. Maybe the vans with it. Yeah. And
I know that some people are going, well, goddamn, but we've talked about it. Prime time at prime time.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I'm a little biased because I had a lot of buddies that were running that light weld class. That son of a bitch was late.
Yeah. I got back from almost a 2-hour drive.
Yeah.
After doing the fundraiser thing, and still got to watch the last 4 in the light weld class. And it was pretty.
Well, that's what I sent you that Snapchat, and I was like, if this derby goes on much longer, I'm going to be drunk.
The 2-man guys, Caleb Reed and Brian Reed, they ended up pulling the win off.
And like I said, I watched it. That was a hard-ass show. They were working the fuck out of the track.
You got some guys. We even had a local kind of to us, Eric Shores, who actually ran our Mother's Day show in 22 with his teammate. Him and his son actually went and they tried the Lieutenant Dan leg delete kit back there. But there was some moments at this show, and I'm not talking about just specifically that class, but I got to see 2 axles come out at once. That shit was wild. Yep. And still moving.
Yeah.
So,
That was something I hadn't seen before. You know, the wagon was not the car to beat out there. That was the car to beat on.
How many times have we said it?
They're a target.
Like, I'm gonna go park in this bitch.
You just want to.
There was kind of a variation of a lot of different cars. You saw some old iron stuff still. You saw some wagons. You saw some new style Fords.
There was a lot of new styles out there.
A lot, and I mean a lot of new styles. Speaking of new styles, Street Stock Weld number 4.
Yes.
5X with the fat dub again.
He earned that one.
And I'm telling you, dudes, if y'all don't have him on Snapchat, go find it. Just go find
somebody that
him.
doesn't like a camera.
He doesn't like a camera, but he likes to talk.
And somebody that doesn't, want to do the interview stuff and stuff like that. His Snapchat, that shit cracks me up. Like, I like to get on there, of a morning and see what he was doing the night before.
Yeah.
You don't know what he's doing.
Pushing snow, bud.
Yeah. I mean, hell, he might be out of fuel in his loader going down the road. You just don't know.
Yep. Yeah. John, new style Ford, pulled out the win in the 4th feature for the Street Stock Weld.
Did you get to hear Buddy?
No.
So he was going through the limited weld stuff and getting everybody to say who they were. Well, May was said his name, and Buddy goes, "Son of a bitch, I've been saying your name wrong for how many years?" Because we almost got in a fist fight in my living room yesterday over this because I kept saying his name correctly. And everybody else that was at the house was like, "No, that is Muse." I'm like, "Well, it's not."
Ask John.
I was
Here,
like,
I'll Snapchat him and see what he says.
Unless this motherfucker has just decided to go out of the box and change his last name, or maybe if his parents didn't teach him how to say it, that's not what happened here. I'm just telling you. He doesn't seem to get super offended by it.
No, he don't.
I'm just saying that Buddy even was like, "Well, shit."
Yes. John pulled it off. Nate Steele 2nd. Sean Verona 3rd. Mr. Chicken. Justin Montgomery in 4th.
They were on his ass.
Oh, I figured they would have been.
They were on his ass.
Yeah, anytime you get a Team Kansas guy in a singles class by themselves.
Oh, yeah.
But Chicken is that dude. He is that dude. He will take a fucking ass whooping, and he don't care.
Oh, no.
He gets out smiling. I mean, that's just Chicken.
Well, John went over there and talked to him after that, and he was like, "I did what I had to do." He would have done the exact same thing to me. He said, "I went over and talked to him, and he was very understanding."
Yeah.
Well, but Chicken, he drove that bitch.
Chicken's a wheel, man. I ain't never seen... He never puts himself in a shitty spot.
I think I did find a trend out there at Carnage this year, and I may have to shave the center out of my head before we go to Peoria. Because after all these helmets come off...
One was Chad Markley.
Yeah.
Blackface.
Yep.
White head.
Easy on that blackface shit.
Well,
we'll be catching...
It was rubber. That's what it was.
And dirt.
Lots
of dirt.
James Kitchell, same way. Took the lid off. Nice shiny white head. Not so white face.
So I may just do blackface at Peoria before we start it and shave my head.
Because Troy Johnson, when he was wore out in that mod,
he was
the white weld.
He was wanting some water.
Show. Yeah, he was
thirsty. But so John gets out of this car. Guess what the next class is? Vans.
Yeah.
They drag his. They take his car off track, and he goes and climbs in his van.
Yep. Gets done with the van.
gets done with his van. He's got
A light weld,
he's got a breather.
the mod class
They run
breakup.
mod class. So let's jump back to the vans a little bit. Van class was the van class.
Mm-hmm.
It was okay to watch. I think everybody at my house, I think that's whenever we got up, did the snack thing, because it was fun for about the first 15 minutes.
Correct.
And then the vans were doing what the vans do.
Yep.
There was one guy out there, and I'm pretty sure he got the mad dog. He was going from one end of the track forward, hitting whatever was in front of him, and then all the way backwards. I have not seen a van fold like he folded that one.
Folded in the middle.
No. It, you know how those Ford wagon, the new style Ford wagons, how they bend, they kind of TP up in the back.
Mm-hmm.
His did exactly that, and there was nothing behind the sliding door. There's nothing left,
Oh my.
and the front looked about the same. He run it until it wouldn't do it anymore.
He gone.
But the van class was the van class. It was okay.
Yeah.
Like I said, I would have liked to have seen, if they had to keep it, move it up to the morning session, because the 6:45 start time at night was it hurt the crowd more so than anything.
I was gonna hit off on that
Because if you looked around there, like I know that there was guys out there that was waiting on other stuff. The street stock was for sure the featured event, but there was a lot of people waiting to watch that light weld.
Yeah.
And because they always make a big deal of the light welds. I mean, every time, that was the only class that they went through and had everybody announce their names. They pulled them on the track. Well, that burned up some more time.
Yep.
If that van class would have been in the morning session, because the morning session, what time did it get over?
About 1.
Well, they could have added that on there, because nobody was going back to work on their stuff.
No, they didn't have to.
So
it didn't start till 10, which I think they were wanting to. One of them said, one social media thing said 9, the other one said 10. Right. So it didn't really start till 10, and like I said, it was over roughly 1 o'clock.
And I know that everybody's going to find something to bitch about, so I'm not trying to take that away from Tim.
No.
But I think that maybe should be something to look at moving
possible
forward.
Adjustment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I feel like they fucked themselves out of satisfying the crowd a little bit.
Yeah.
Because that's a lot of idle time, especially if you're just coming in as a spectator, to fuck off from 1 o'clock until 7.
Yeah. That's a good way to go get drunk, or...
And I'm not saying getting drunk's a bad thing. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like they should have shortened that up just a touch.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, even if they started at 5,
Mm-hmm.
that would have made a world of difference. Well, it would have been the difference between me yelling at my kids for an hour at home versus not.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
But all right, let's jump into the modifieds. Hell of a show.
When you
one
have
of my favorites.
First 3 is Troy Johnson, Zach Johnson, and Chad Markley.
Yeah.
Most of these guys probably brought their stuff back from Blizzard Bash.
There was Kunkel. Good looking ride out there.
Wagon.
Yep, that bitch was sharp. And honestly, he was at the top of my roster. Him and Pudwitter both. Because Pudwitter's car looked phenomenal. I think that was a steering issue for Pudwitter. I think he lost a wheel early. And then they finally beat the front wheel under on the wagon. So
there it goes again. I mean, there's that wagon, and Dylan knows how to build whatever.
Oh, that bitch was hard.
I mean, I've seen him in sedans, caddies, new style Fords, wagons.
That bitch was hard.
Yeah.
There was a call in the, I think it was a mod class. I don't know. I'll come back on that because I know we're going to talk about this again next week. Let me do a little bit more research on that. I'm going to rewatch the shit this week.
Yeah.
And let you kind of get caught up to date on that. Because there was a couple calls in there that I'd like to talk about, but I want you to see it first. In the mod class, I got to give Tony Miller some credit. He was there.
And they knew it?
Oh, yeah. I think he went out in 6th.
Fuck.
He started steaming early. It looked like somebody got up over the bumper early on, but he didn't quit until the car did. And Tony was driving the fucking wheels off that thing. He's actually still got a car.
Snapchat I saw, it did look like the radiator protectant panel was relocated a little farther back to the fan.
Dude, he was poking and stroking out there. A Kitchell steering locked real quick on him. But he run it down too. I mean, he was there. They knew he was there. Kitchell's car was, I mean, it was good.
I saw it on the trailer this morning, and it looks like it's
fixable.
Oh yeah, way fixable is what it looked like to me.
Bad luck on some of that stuff. And like I said, we'll touch on this a little harder after you get to watch it. But no, I was definitely on the edge of my seat there for a while because it looked like Tony was there. I mean, he was still steering the car, still had all the tires on it. He had a car.
Yeah.
Johnson, holy shit. That was a fight.
Well, like I said, I got home and last night, and I got to watch the final down to the last 4 in the light weld. You hit on it, when you've got Rob and Trey and Teddy. Tiny on there, and then Pudwitter's in there. The Johnsons, Chris Collins, some of the ass kickers, that they had left over. You're seeing top end shit.
What number does Collins run?
005.
Okay.
Is that the call that you were talking about?
Yeah.
I got to watch that.
You did get to watch some of that?
Yes.
It's hard.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. It's hard. From where I was sitting, I don't think he was out of time yet.
Yeah,
and all that's going to come back to.
But like Rob said, it's the official's determination
100%.
Of when he started that clock to where it ended.
Well, and it's not even about that. If some of that was Collins got himself in that situation.
Yeah.
When he was trying to turn around.
Yeah.
As we've heard several people that have been on here, don't put it up to the officials to make that call.
Yep.
Like I said, from where I was sitting, my personal opinion, because I had not a dog in that fight. If I would have been standing on the dirt, I would have been arguing over my headset that he wasn't out of time yet.
Yeah.
That shit happens. It didn't look like Collins was super upset about it. I mean, it didn't seem like there was a lot of, motherfuckers flying through the window.
But that's the only shitty part is because when they started waving the flag to tell him to break off, like 2 seconds he was out and made contact.
And at that point, you either need to go, you need to make a quick group decision, which you're going to catch bullshit from if you let him go, because you were waving the flag. Everybody saw that. So that either needs to be a judgment call that you make and you deal with the consequences after that, whether you fucked up or didn't.
Correct.
Or you stick with your decision like they did and you sort it out afterwards.
Yeah.
It is what it is at that point. But that was the one call that I really, really paid attention to that I didn't agree with, but it wasn't my fucking show.
Yep.
Wasn't my call to make.
But you know,
Do I think that would have changed the outcome of the end of that
very
derby?
well could have.
Absolutely.
Yes. Because your top four was Zach Johnson, Nick Urlacher, Brady Larson, and Chris Collins. Brady Larson got the Mad Dog as well. You know, another
Deserved.
team ass kicker.
Deserved.
But I'm going to go back and actually, after we try to get your shit buttoned up today, I'm going to go watch the finals for what was on last night. But, I mean, that's the thing, dude. We keep saying this, and we do. These shows are the baddest dudes in the country, period.
Uh-huh.
And we're you know, we get them from all walks of life, from California to New York, Texas
to North Dakota,
and
everywhere
Saskatchewan,
in
and British Columbia. And, you know, we got real dudes that come and run these shows roughly 4 hours away from us. The track itself was
I wanted to touch on that.
Amazing, phenomenal traction, not dusty, nobody getting buried. The only reason they got buried last night is because their shit was bottomed out. You know.
Well, yeah, and that could have been an A-arm that dug a hole and then skipped and dug another hole. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. I'll fight you on that one.
Yeah.
That was 21-inch solids and a fucking pinion or a rear embrace that
center section was hanging up.
Yes,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
That didn't affect the outcome of that derby anyway.
No.
The one guy getting stuck, dude, his shit was bellied
out.
And the ass end was completely gone off the car. They had fought a good fight.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Rob lost steering. Sucks. He hung around a long time. I think he went out 13th or so, somewhere
around that.
there. I'm not sure what happened to Trey.
Nope. But Teddy's Snapchats that I got this morning was pretty amazing to sit there and watch it from his view.
Oh, yeah. Well,
everything that was going on.
You've got to watch that class because Rob and Trey were working together like I'd never seen them work together.
And what I was watching for, you know, Teddy's, so you got those three guys, Rob, Teddy, and Trey. We all know, run together all the time.
Oh, really?
Best friends. Well, Tiny was in there with them.
Uh-huh.
So they had four pretty solidified down on one end of the Snapchats that I was watching. And Tiny was really taking place of maybe a Mason in the Blizzard Bash setting.
Yeah.
Where, you know, they were all working together. One would hit, pull back, daylight, the next one would hit.
Because there's a few people at my house that aren't huge into the derby stuff. You know, they were more so there to hang out and
drink beers.
Yep. We were just kind of kicking it, letting the kids play and stuff. And we were really focused in on that because, you know, we were watching that class. That was the class that I told everybody, shut the fuck up. I want to watch this. This is what I've been waiting for all night.
Duct tape them, hang them up on the wall.
Yeah,
We're not dealing with them right now. Yeah.
We flipped the latch around in the kids' room so I could lock it from the outside type shit. You know, but we're sitting in there and we're really focused in on this. And they're like, God damn, that's team driving. I was like, it is, but it isn't. It's team driving within the rules.
Yep.
And if you watch Teddy's snap, it didn't seem like that even the driver that was on the receiving end of that was taking that to heart.
Oh, no.
You know, I mean, there was never any big, you know, I mean, there's frustration in that, but there was none of that, hey, motherfucker, you know.
I didn't see any sign language flying out the window.
You know, and I seen some thumbs ups, you know. Hell, at one point, he looked at Teddy while he was being Snapchatted.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah. Yeah.
And, I mean, there was the arms thrown up, but I don't know so much that was in a bad way.
Correct.
You know, because
on one of them, hey, what can I do here?
Yeah, on the other end of that, you would do the same thing, given the opportunity. Because if you can shove Rob, Trey, Teddy, Tiny, any of those guys, if you can shove them in a position to get them out, you're going to do it.
Yes.
You're going to take that opportunity.
How many times we've always said you don't go to a derby to make friends. You bring them with you.
Yes.
You know.
Yes, 100%. But, dude, I think Carnage, from my seat with my delicious whiskey drink, looked like it pretty much went off without a hitch. They did an awesome job, except, in my opinion, except for the time thing on Saturday, whatever, of laying the show out as far as rolling through with the one and dones. I mean, it looked like they jumped in and followed suit real good on that.
In my opinion, they I think that they recouped from Blizzard Bash. I mean, we have said it personally. We've said it on here.
They definitely redeemed.
That's where I was going.
There was some redemption there. I would say that after the scrutiny they caught from Blizzard Bash, I would say that made them reevaluate some things. I know that it did look like that we raised enough hell on Facebook. I'm not just saying myself, but
the persons,
the stalker build guys, that we raised enough shit on Facebook that it looks like that class is coming back.
Yep.
I pulled up Teddy's
story
Snapchat, and he actually got the rock on,
yeah.
So I mean, yeah. Here, I'll show it to you real quick. Get a little radio silence here.
Yep.
It's great to me. I love seeing that shit. The awareness of the driver out there. Like, that's how you know it's a big fuck you to all the officials and the promoters out there. Whenever you're waving your red flag at somebody trying to get their attention, they know. they fucking know.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like I said, he knew that he was being recorded by Teddy.
Because I'm sure Teddy had his phone up.
Yeah,
he could see it.
Yeah, he looked at him.
But, like I said, I think they redeemed themselves over Blizzard Bash. Everything that I watched was really good. And like I said, I'm going to go back and rewatch last night. I'll watch that tonight. Just so, I can see the rest of the heats that I missed. You got guys like John, coming to support a show, bringing 3 cars.
Did he bring 3 or 4?
Well, I think he had a van, a light weld, and a street stock. I think somebody else was driving whether it was a youth car or a hobo or something like that. And I think, like I said, man, I think they redeemed themselves. I know after Chad Markley's interview, after winning his feature in the street stock, he said, wait for Blizzard Bash. So I don't know what they've got going on. But time will tell. We'll see. Guys, when this airs, we'll be in Peoria a week after for an unreal show. We are taking our equipment.
Yep.
We will be hitting some guys from Friday night's heats or / features. We'll be catching them Saturday morning. We haven't figured out if we're going to do several
Snippets
episodes or kind of combined into one. We don't know for sure.
I know that I guarantee you we get enough shit out there, content-wise.
Yes.
That we'll have enough for a couple shows.
Yeah.
It might end up landing a little weird just because we won't be able to incorporate, the whole hour and 30 minutes.
Correct.
Into one interview, but it'll be something to listen to.
Yeah.
With as good of an editor as we have, she'll make us look as good as possible.
That's hard to do with us.
I don't know. I'm pretty good looking. I'm pretty sure what she was trying to say there is No matter how much mayonnaise you add to chicken shit.
It's still chicken shit. But we've got a couple buddies. They started a podcast.
Yeah, and pushing the shit out of ours.
Yeah, we're gonna do a little collab with them after Peoria. It's gonna be a little something different. We've had both of them on before. We're gonna catch up on some of them guys that one of the first 10 episodes that we actually went out on the original Hard Nose stuff. One of them being fella from over on the Illinois side as well. We're going to get caught up with him. So we've got some great guys coming up. Probably going to have some maybe females on there as well. We don't discriminate. So this is one of them. You know, we hit off on it. We'll probably finish it off maybe a little bit next week before.
Well, yeah, because I think I don't know that we spent enough time on it. Like I said, I need you to watch Saturday nights so that we can jump into that. And I will go back and watch the beginning or Saturday morning. I'll do it out there. I'll do it in the shop this week while I'm tying up some loose ends on the car. The transmission didn't come in for my truck, so I may need a ride to fucking Peoria. I may have to put the fucking windshield back in my car and drive it out there. Fuck.
That gas mileage would suck.
Fuck.
Just throwing that out there.
I'm sick of fucking with that.
So
if anybody wants to loan me a 3/4 ton truck and a trailer.
let's go finish the car.
Yeah. Let's go get that done.
Let's get that one done. You got any last words?
Nope.
Make junk, boys.